I'm probably going to get my butt absolutely whooped today in the name of brewing, and I'm okay with that. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Richard has tasked me with a bit of an odd job. You see, many years back, they played against someone playing a Locket of Yesterday's Storm decklist. And this makes spells you play cost one less for each card with the same name as that spell in your graveyard. And at, some FNM or something like that, they watched someone have a Locket of Yesterdays and then Dark Petition into Dark Petition into Dark Petition into Dark Petition into something that killed them. And the Dark Petitions start out costing mana, and then because of your Locket of Yesterdays, they increasingly become better and better each time. And so I was essentially told, try to do this thing, but Legacy. And I think this is a terrible idea, and I want to talk about why before I get into the deck list that we're going to be playing today. So these sorts of cost reducing things sometimes see play in Modern, but their primary problem is that they are attached to bodies, and bodies die. If you are trying to play some sort of Storm deck, you would much prefer everything you're doing to just be attached to spells, so you could just kind of go all off at once. And Locket of Yesterdays is conceptually a slightly harder to kill brawl, but one that is innately much, much, much less powerful. So conceptually, playing one as an Urza Saga deck in a deck that already wants Urza Saga is perfectly reasonable. But kind of the idea today is build around this Locket and make it work. And I think it would be kind of disingenuous to try and just, say, oh, here's my one Locket and move on with my life. So fundamentally, we want a Storm deck that's doing two things. It needs to have a bunch of artifacts so that cards like Mox Opal and Urza's Saga have their synergy, but then it also needs to have enough spells that Dark Petition can have its spell mastery turned on. And from here, there's kind of this problem that Dark Petition sucks. We have just gotten better cards in Legacy to the point where this card has been basically invalidated. Wishclaw Talisman now exists that jumps through far fewer hoops, and Beseech the Mirror is also just batshit insane as an addition to any Storm deck that is in black and wants to play artifacts. So I think today we're starting with one arm behind our back because we are trying to do something cute when a much better engine already exists. So there's a Storm deck known as Black Saga Storm that exists in builds that do and do not have Beseech, that is going to be a better turbo mono black or mono black adjacent Storm deck list than what we are doing. TES exists, and while maybe not particularly strong, also exists. So fundamentally, if you ask the question, why should we do this over other things that exist? The answer is overwhelmingly you should not do this. So we're doing this for funsies. We're doing this to see if we can storm off in a weird way. And I think that's where our expectations should be for this video. I don't know how to build this deck. This is the sort of thing where you need to iterate tens or maybe hundreds of games in order to get this to a reasonable spot. And I've thought about this list for an hour or two, and we're going to see where we end up. And I'm going to realize problems with the deck very quickly, I'm sure. So This is where I'm going to try to end up. We're going to take kind of the Black Saga Storm shell and adjust it a little bit. Having to use 8 of the deck slots on the Locket of Yesterdays and Dark Petition doesn't leave me a lot of room to do cool things. So I don't know what these ratios of cards are supposed to look like. Infernal Tutor costing 1 black mana instead of a black and a colorless is interesting. I've kept that in the deck list. I've gotten rid of Wishclaw Talisman because like Dark Petition is kind of one of the build around things of the deck. And I think a lot of times we're going to end up casting a bunch of copies of Dark Petition only to Beseech the Mirror, which we could have just done on far fewer resources anyway. But this card is just so powerful, especially when paired with Gaea's Will, that I don't think I can not put it in the deck list in some number. But if I play 4, then this just completely overshadows the Dark Petition, and all Dark Petition does all League is go under Chromux, and I want to try to honor the donor's idea, even though I don't think the idea is optimal, I guess, when other more efficient Storm engines exist. Unless your name is Bryant Cook, you really need a good reason to be playing Storm in Legacy, I think. And I don't know that this deck is going to give us this reason. I am essentially playing a mono black Storm deck list, not counting Gaea's Will Suspend, and not counting the Empty the Warrens. Without iterations on this deck list, without extra matches, I don't know if this is supposed to be a few copies of Burning Wish. That way I have access to a handful of bounce, removal, alternate win conditions in the sideboard. I don't know if I'm supposed to be abusing Cabal Ritual because it's, air quotes, even better than normal with Locket of Yesterdays. Without playing games, I don't know what the count on these spells is supposed to look like. So this is fully in experimental land. I've goldfished a couple of games. It's definitely a little sketch, but we'll see how it goes. For the sideboard, I'm opting to play a handful of things that can address slower matchups, like we can use Duress and Defense Grid to kind of sculpt a position where we can go off. I'm going to keep some Surgicals for some opposing fast combo matchups and have a couple of generic Urza's Saga bullets that we can fetch either to answer hate permanents or to make it so that we're not just a dog to, an aggressive Delver start or something of that nature. So we're going to see how this goes. And if you end up wanting to buy any cards so that you can do better than I did at brewing this one, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it on this one. Okay, we have a very strong Urza's Saga hand that can also potentially play a combo game. Do I just combo off on turn 1 with Beseech? So Vault, Dark Ritual, 3 mana, Chrome Mox, 4 mana, Infernal Tutor, down to 2 mana. No, we're not beseeching here. So I think I am on the Urza's Saga game. I believe it is correct for me to imprint a Dark Petition despite having Locket plus Dark Petition. Which is awkward because this disrupts the chain. Maybe I'll get rid of the Infernal Tutor. Maybe I've talked myself into that. I could Dark Ritual, cast Infernal Tutor. Oh, are we getting stifled? We are getting stifled, sure. My ideas of Dark Ritualing are now over. Or are they? This Urza Saga is now a little awkward. Okay, let's get weird. Let's get weird. We are going to cast Infernal Tutor the Fairway. I think I'm getting another Locket rather than another Dark Petition. Cast Locket. I'll put a Bobble into play, I guess. And pass turn. So the way that I intend on playing this game is large Urza Saga tokens with the ability to change my mind and become a Storm deck with Dark Petition. Okay. We're definitely in weirdo territory with 3 copies of Locket of Yesterdays here. All right. Weird stuff. I probably crack Bobble at some point where I don't get Bowmastered. So I'm just going to do it right here. Okay. So a blue-white Stifle deck list. Take this card. Well, that's an Urza's Saga activation, but that's not really what I want. I also don't know that, like, Urza's Saga is just going to be enough to beat this opponent. I will put the Lotus Petal into play. And at some point in the not too distant future, I just like Dark Petition for Dark Petition for Dark Petition. Just DP, 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 DP into Beseech kill. A small portion of my audience is now losing their shit because I said DP a bunch of times. So it's no shuffle from my opponent. And we're going to stay on this very large Urza Saga construct train for a little while. That's a thing. Okay. Big tokens. What do I want here? Locket's funny. Redraws are reasonable. I think I'm just going to take another Locket. Gained 10 life. My current problem is that, like, I'm going to have gained another 9 life. The current problem is that I'm just going to, like, have trouble getting to the 5 starting mana for Dark Petition. Like, I only have 3 of it right now. Pop off like mad once it works. But I guess I'm going to have to, like, worry about, like, my Storm Trigger just getting stifled and that being very tough to beat. I'd honestly just like another Urza Saga. Sure. This Chromox being stifled was a major pain in the butt. Alright, I'm chilling. This is a good news, bad news situation where, like, the good news is my opponent is not killing me quickly. And the bad news is because this is so much more expensive than something like Wishclaw mana, or Wishclaw Talisman the first time around, I'm just kind of stuck for a while, which is not a position that I want to be in. And even if I grabbed a Lotus Petal, fuck. This is dead, this is dead. I have 1 land. I'm never going to get to 5 lands to beat this Lavinia. I can sit here for 5 minutes and pretend like I have outs. But basically, unless I draw Urza Saga, I think I'm dead. Like, despite the fact that I am at a billion life, this is just so strong against what I'm doing. Death by 1,000 cuts. The fuck is this? You may reveal the first card you draw each turn as you draw it. Whenever you reveal an instant or sorcery card, copy that card, and you may cast the copy. Copy costs 2 less to cast. Okay. Sure. Yeah, so, like, this stuff is just not castable because I don't control enough lands. With 8 power in play, I think I'm just going to go ahead and tap out here. I could still top deck an Urza Saga and maybe be competitive in the game, but I'm good moving on. So I'm going to need a couple answers to Hate Bears and then some amount of additional interaction for the control stuff. If I get rid of LEDs, it makes my Infernal Tutors worse. But discarding my hand isn't super attractive right now anyway. Let's get 2 outs to creatures, a defense, greater duress, and then decide if I want to go further in from there. Let's try this. This is very awkward. I'm going to go ahead and just mulligan this one. This is a pretty strong Urza Saga hand. I'm going to keep it. Sure do have 1 Tendrils in my deck, though. Am I imprinting this under this Chromox and going all in on Urza Saga? And empty becomes plan B? Kinda looks like it. Like, I think so. Chromox, imprint, Tendrils, Mox Opal, cast Locket, play Urza Saga, cast Bobble. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Imprint, Saga, cast Locket, cast Mox Opal. We've got a lot of artifacts. We make very big Urza Sagas very quickly. There is not a realistic plan B here. So we'll see how much spot removal my opponent still has in their deck. That's nice. We're not doing that right now, though. Okay, my opponent fetched. This can't be stifled right now. I'm going to go ahead and do this right now. It's like awkward, though, because like sometimes this results in Swords to Plowshares happening instead. So like play around one thing, get hit by the other. Prismatic ending on a mana source is really rough. I did not keep the swamp. This is colorless, so I now like lose out on this Urza Saga token. I didn't float a mana. I think at this point, after losing the Saga and mulliganing, I'm just like not competitive in this game with my Tendrils gone. I'm gonna just go ahead and move on to the next one here. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is, in my opinion, the best Magic the Gathering website for hosting your deck lists online. One of my favorite features is that you can create your own custom tags for when you're deck building. So let's say you're building a commander deck and you want to know, hey, how many copy effects do I have? You can just create a tag and sort everything, and there's fun little hotkeys so that you can do this more quickly. So really, please consider checking them out if you are looking to tinker with deck lists online. All right, we're not going turbo here, but I get to, at some point, Thoughtseize my opponent, take a relevant card, and work towards Beseech the Mirror. And now I have to decide if I'm going to cast this Thoughtseize immediately, because my opponent might be an opposing combo deck, or if I'm trying to wait it out. Let's try to bait a Wasteland off this, so that this doesn't get Wastelanded. Okay. An opposing Veil is rough, but we're taking the Beseech. I'm putting this into play probably for Urza Saga reasons. And I just kind of assume that, like, storming off is no longer the plan. Like, we're essentially now playing this, like, weird control mirror where we're both going to try to keep each other from comboing off. Okay. And I'm going to hold this in play for Urza Saga, because my plan is fully aggro my opponent out. If I end up accidentally being able to Beseech, cool. But I'm not convinced that that is the most likely timeline, especially with my opponent just showing me Veil of Summer. And I don't really have the artifact mana that I need either. Ah, fuck. That's fine. So I lose some stuff. Okay. So this is going to be a Burning Wish for goblins. There's cracking the LED. And I did keep the Veil. And my opponent makes a bunch of goblins. So this is 12 goblins. So if I block 1, I take 11, going to 7, and then I can block 2 and be dead. Not great. So I guess I am working on comboing off on my own. Can I kill my opponent? 1, 2, essentially 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 artifacts. I just kill my opponent on the backswing, right? I think I just kill my opponent on the backswing. I think they didn't math that out, and I think I win a game because of it. So I go to 7. And it seems like my opponent is dead. So make construct, get some artifact. It doesn't really matter what. I'll pick up another Locket of Yesterday's to confuse them. Play Swamp. Oh, right. This one has Summoning Sickness. F. They're not dead on the backswing. I don't know why I thought that. So block 2, take 9, dead. I don't have that main deck Shadow Spear. So if I crack my Bauble, I get 1 card deeper. Fuck, that gets me to Beseech. So I would have, counting Urza Saga, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I don't have anything for Chrome Mox, so I cast Beseech with 1 floating. Or if I get an LED, I think I can survive. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just totally brain farted and thought I was getting another attacker. I don't know why. Okay, so I can just play this game fully as an Urza Saga deck and try not to lose to my opponent's combo by boarding in 8 cards. Like, I can just do something like this and try to play a control role, and sometimes I'll accidentally make a few goblins or tendrils. I'll become much worse at it. But my opponent has Veil of Summers and I don't. So being the combo role is not necessarily good. Urza Saga, Chrome Mox, Imprint, Surgical, Infernal Tutor, get Bobble, play Bobble. Clocks really fast, but drops my disruption, or I could clock slightly less fast and keep Surgical. Either way, the hand's a keep. Let's plan on keeping the Surgical. Imprint that. Play Saga. Play Bobble, pass. And my opponent's just chilling. We drew the empty. I can maybe cast that at some point in the future. I do have to be alive to do that. I'm not sure if my Urza Saga is getting Shadow Spear to just like make my opponent's storm lines harder, or if I'm getting some sort of red mana source for this empty. We'll figure it out after my next draw step, though. So 3/3, 4/4. Let's go 5/5. I think this is worth it. I end up netting life from this as long as this construct token doesn't end up going away. This does mean that I'm not realistically casting the empty this game. I think that's fine. 24 is not enough probably to stop Beseech based lines, but another connection probably would be. Okay, it's just another cantrip. That's fine. Cantrips don't kill me. And the fetch land to clear. My opponent's not technically dead on board, but is very likely to die if they pass the turn. So I expect them to make a move here. No shuffle, which is scary for me. Here we go. So I can Surgical here. This is exactly 7 cards in graveyard. I think this is an okay time to pick a fight. I'm going to Surgical Brainstorm, paying 2 life. And this is going to take 2 cards out of graveyard for threshold purposes. Yeah. Cool. Song Creation, Tendrils, Gaia's Will, 2 Burning Wishes. Nothing too weird boarded in. 4 Veils. So my opponent can Beseech a construct. They can maybe Burning Wish for some sort of meltdown type card that would be a pain in my ass. Oh. This is unexpected, right? Because this just leaves them dead to literally any artifact. Oh, okay, there's still another mana. That's fine then. Sure. I'll pick up this swamp. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to bobble. I think it's more valuable as 1 life in play from Shadow Spear than anything else. I'm going to cast a Mox Opal. This construct token just kills next turn anyway, just 6 then 12. Unless my opponent baby Tendrils to stay alive. I think I'm not going to do the goblins here. I think I'm just going to gain as much life as possible and hope that I'm alive. I might not be. Sure. Yeah, you can Thoughtseize. They're going to get the life right back with Tendrils. But if they just baby Tendrils and end up with no cards left, I think that's largely good for me. Yeah, this is fine. So I'm still at 18. My opponent may or may not be dead in 2 turns. Dark Ritual doesn't do me any good right now. But like, I've got the robot on board and my opponent's hellbent. The problem is that, like, Beseech the Mirror type cards exist as a top deck my opponent can have. Those Dark Rituals do me no good on this board. Opponent's at 2. Here's to hoping to dodge a tutor. I am at 30 life. F. So my opponent Burning Wishes, they crack for black. They have 7 for Peer into the Abyss, and I think I just die. It is indeed Peer into the Abyss. My opponent unfortunately goes to 1 life here. 1 singular more point of damage this game, and this doesn't work. That's not on. Did we luck out? Did we beat a Peer? That would make me happy. There's a land drop, so my opponent gets to start going. Storm count's already 4, like, and is going to tick up quickly. I am at a relatively high life total, but Beseech might not give a fuck. Gaea's Will happens with 1, 2, 3, 4 rituals. Storm count 10, 11, 12, 13 with the 3 artifacts. Sorry, 14. There's another Lotus Petal in there. Okay. There's an LED instead. So there's going to be some Infernal Tutor-based line. Or Past in Flames. Huh. Well, we've won a game with this deck. I can say at least that much. Really awkward to, like, want to play a pile of Duresses against 4x Veil. Maybe I get this Haywire Might in there. One step further away from a Storm deck into Scumbag Urza Saga territory. So this, like, almost works. I think I'm just gonna keep it. So I don't get to turn 1 Urza Saga unless I also do something like give up Lotus Petal or draw a card that I can imprint. I guess I could imprint the Gaea as well. Okay, sure. I imagine I lose my Thoughtseize, at which point I just play Urza Saga, Chrome Box, imprint Gaia's Will, Lotus Petal, and we're all in. Oh, they took my Lotus Petal. Sure. Is this just Veil of Summer? Really wish I drew a black card. I'm going to imprint the Gaia's Will now. And if I take this Lotus Petal out of play and put that, you know, a card back in your hand, I'm just going to accept that. And that's what happens. And from here, I'm hoping to play a reasonable Urza Saga beatdown plan. Okay. So green mana is not available this time. So now I can punch a hole in this hand. I'll take Beseech. Fantastic. We're gonna beat down pretty hard here. My opponent's not operating on a lot of resources. And the Shadow Spear is, like, not terrible here. Oh, fuck yeah. That's so good. So Veil of Summer is not currently in the picture. I'm just going to take the Cabal Ritual here, I think. I'll leave them with a Chrome Box, which is another artifact for Beseech the Mirror, which matters, but they do have to cast the Beseech the Mirror in the first place. Sure. How bad is this? Because if it's meltdown levels of bad, you know, it is Galvanic Relay. I don't care about that. Galvanic Relay takes time. And I am very much not trying to give time to my opponent. Beseech? No? I think no, oddly. I just don't have rituals in my graveyard or, like, the Gaia's Will based stuff. Yeah, I'm just gonna say no and make my thing and equip Shadow Spear and just put my opponent on a 2-turn clock while also going up to 25, so a Beseech based kill is harder. Okay. So my opponent's Galvanic Relay is essentially dead. We have gotten the GGs from my opponent. We won! I don't know that I feel good about it, but we won. Okay. This hand has 4 mana, which is not really enough. Dark Petition requires 5 to get going. I think there's a good chance that I keep this one and then I just like don't do anything relevant all game. I'm also not fueling Dark Petition super well. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. And we have a really strong Urza Saga hand. Just Urza Saga, Imprint, Chrome Mox, Gaia's Will, Lotus Petal, Bobble. Play this on turn 2, get rid of Swamp. It's hard to say no to that, but we sure aren't operating as a Storm deck here. A big part of that being that Dark Petition just requires so much mana to get going. So, that's the thing. And then let's dump the rest of my artifacts into play. Gaia's Will. And then this thing. So we're all in on an Urza Saga. So Wasteland is horrifying. Basic Plains. I can potentially lose a Chrome Mox to like Prismatic Ending style card. But I played all this stuff out to play around like the Thalia, Trinisphere, Chalice sort of cards instead. Which may have been wise. This is weird. My opponent has played Basic Plains prior to pondering off Lotus Petal? That's just very strange sequencing. Okay. I may just die on turn 2 to hashtag cephalid breakfast things. And if that happens, that happens. There's very few draws I have that can change that. So I can Infernal Tutor for Thoughtseize, cast Thoughtseize off Lotus Petal if I want to decrease the chances that I just die next turn. But if I do that, I'm missing out on an Urza Saga token, and I'm kind of all in on Urza Saga to win this game. So I'm just going to pass the turn, and if my opponent kills me, they kill me. And if they don't, hopefully I kill them over the next 2 turns, and then after that, I can start thinking about doing this. Let's see if I'm dead. There's the blue source. So here is the Cephalid Illusionist combo with Nomads in core. The way this is going to work is that my opponent is going to infinitely target their Cephalid Illusionist with Nomads in core, milling their entire library. They will go ahead and put 3 Narcomoebas into play and Dread Return for a Thassa's Oracle. So I am dead to this, and I will go ahead and let them reveal their library, but then I'll concede. Okay, so let's take a quick look at my opponent's deck here. They have Stoneforge Mystic for Kaldra. They have some Teferis. Teferi is randomly very good versus Beseech the Mirror because it changes the timing that you are allowed to cast your spells. So this is going to be a time where my opponent is like very, very clearly the faster deck, which is unfortunate. So am I playing Control again? I don't want to play Control. Like, I can board 11 cards and be a weird-ass Control deck that tries to win the game with 4 copies of Urza Saga. But I just can't keep up with my opponent's Goldfish speed. Alright, what does this look like if I do this madness? Dark Petition's out, Empty out. Beseech and Gaia's Will out. Cut 3 more cards of some kind. Keep Locket as an artifact. Or keep Infernal Tutor as a black card that imprints under Chrome Mox. I guess I could also Surgical. Like, oh god, this is... I'm not going to say this is the most shameful thing I've ever done on this channel, because you've been around a while. I've done some things. But, don't look, YouTube. Don't look at what we're doing. I mean, I'm keeping this. This attempts to punch a hole and then does disgusting Urza Saga things. This is conceptually what I want to do. Yeah. My opponent's doing their own Urza Saga things. Urza Saga represents Shuko, which is kind of the other half of this. I maybe still just take this anyway. I don't care about the days. Like, if my opponent wants to set themselves back to counter a Locket of Yesterdays, like, thumbs up. The Surgical's kind of the best card in their hand because it represents taking away future copies of Urza Saga on my end. Are you going to just surgical my Thoughtseize immediately? Sure. I believe it is correct to wait until draw step if you are going to do that, because it gives me a chance to draw a Thoughtseize and then you randomly get to take it. The most unfortunate part of this is that, like, my opponent now sees my bullshit where, like, I have just boarded out of Storm stuff and I am fully boarding in 11 cards that interact with them. My shame is great. A Chrome Mox. Sure. We're making dudes. And I think I will go ahead and just play out the Chrome Mox. Maybe I wait. Yeah, maybe I wait on that one. Like, putting the extra artifact into play is nice, but if I draw a random black card that's not actively good right now, I would sort of prefer to not be tapping Ancient Tomb. It's not that big of a deal, though. So my opponent's thinking about something. So they have some castable spell. Now that's another LED on my end. So I'll play it out for Urza Saga purposes. I guess I hold this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, let's call that fine. So let's just see if we get got by my opponent having naturally drawn a Cephalid Illusionist. I guess I should have activated Urza Saga in case my opponent randomly Pithing Needles. Small mistake on my end. Yeah, they randomly drew it. So I am dead to that, and I will concede. GG's. Okay. Swamp, Chrome Mox, imprint something. Infernal Tutor, imprint something else. Like, get another Chrome Mox. Okay, so Swamp, Chrome Mox, imprint a thing. Infernal Tutor for another Chrome Mox. Imprint a thing, imprint a thing. Pass the turn with 4 mana available. No. That doesn't do anything. Like, this not being a Wishclaw Talisman type card that is just easy to start off is a little rough here. And I have no rituals for the purposes of something like Beseech. Maybe I keep it anyway. Maybe we are, maybe we're getting weird here. I'm going to imprint the Dark Petition, cast the Infernal Tutor, and I am just going to pick up another Chrome Mox, and I'll pass the turn here with the hope that I'm working towards a Beseech kill pretty quickly. Oh, are we just gonna get got by something faster? We are. I wish I had turn 1 wins. This is just so easy from here. So my opponent has 10 effective turn 1 mana. This is 4 mana Beseech. They can double crack LED, have 6 mana, get Gaea's Will, replay the artifacts, and at that point we are at lethal Tendrils. And that's all just so very clear. So let's skip ahead. So my opponent has played out all of their assorted ritual mana, or artifact mana rather. Oh, okay, my opponent's just gonna Burning Wish for the kill. That's fine. It works either way. My opponent does a completely unnecessary peer into the Abyss line. Just, strategic advice. Your opponent is F6'd and, like, clearly doesn't have anything. Just kill them. Alright, and my opponent can kill me with a Grape Shot off a Burning Wish, when they could have just, you know, killed me 3 minutes ago. So, I'm not faster than my opponent's deck. We can do this sketchy thing again where I morph into a bad control deck, which I hate. But my opponent gets to be this, like, faster deck that also Veil of Summers, and so I can't race with my Storm combo, and I can't power through either, so I guess thanks, I hate it. Dark Petitions are probably my worst cards here. I think I'd like to leave myself with some Beseech-based lines. Like, cut the Infernal Tutors and maybe one of the win conditions to keep, like, the backdoor Beseech, oops, I win dream alive. This is awkward, though. So I can keep this and greatly decrease my opponent's ability to win, but I'm basically mulliganing to a hand that has Urza Saga in it, because that's how I win the game. Like, that's literally my only win condition. How about this one? This one is close enough to playing a real game of Magic that I'm going to go ahead and just keep it. Just play Locket on turn 1. And then attempt some small Beseech on turn 2. Actually, do I save Locket for turn 2? Maybe I save Locket for turn 2. I have 5 mana, which is just bam, bam, bam. Yeah, let's save that for a turn. My issue here is that if my opponent thought seizes me and takes this Beseech, I'm in trouble. F. So now I have a Beseech and 4 copies of Urza Saga that I'm drawing towards. Otherwise, I'm largely just stringing the game along. They took the Dark Ritual over the Beseech. I think I'm happy about that. Unless I randomly die right now. I did not randomly die right now. So I will put some cards into play and then pass the turn. I think this Bauble ends up becoming a new card on my end. It's possible I save it for like a Storm count with Beseech. But if my opponent took my Dark Ritual, they might just be following up with another discard spell this turn. Like, that's something that conceptually would make sense. Sure. Okay. Not currently dead, which is nice. Chance is not looking great, though. Song of Creation, sure. Let's see what these 2 draws pop up here. So if I Beseech, next turn off 4 mana. I guess off Ancient Tomb I could have 5 mana, but I won't have another black left over to actually start trying to Dark Ritual into something. I think I'm just playing Urza Saga this turn, which is awkward. Colorless, like the Urza Saga is like very clearly good in my deck, right? But the colorless pips are a real concern. Alright, so my opponent's probably just going to cast Song of Creation and attempt to do some sort of like non-deterministic combo line over the next turn or 2. Alright, there's the Song of Creation. And my opponent is passing the turn. They discard the card in their hand, though. Okay. So now I'm in this position where I do have another black mana now, so I can 4 mana Beseech or Gaea's Will, cast Dark Ritual, have 3 mana, recast Lotus Petal, have 4 mana, recast Beseech for empty, Storm 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's do a Storm thing. So make this land drop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cast with Bargain. Sacrifice the Locket. Get Gaea's Will. I guess with this on the... I'm gonna need to hold priority here, I guess. So cast this. Crack for a black. This resolves. Dark Ritual. Lotus Petal. Bauble. Cast with Bargain. Sacrifice a land. The Storm is 8. I can Beseech again. Cast with Bargain. Sacrifice Bauble. Get Tendrils. Cast Tendrils. Target you. Okay, we got a Storm kill. We have done the thing. If my opponent is interested in past the turn Song of Creation lines. This is like not the craziest thing in the world. I might want this empty back in. Like, I was real close to not being able to have lethal. Like, I only had it because my opponent thought seized. Let's pull one random Urza Saga artifact to keep empty in the deck. Urza Saga, Locket. Urza Saga, Locket, Mox Opal, 2 artifacts. Next turn, Shadow Spear. Turns on Mox Opal for Duress. This is a little awkward. However, I am going to keep it because, like, there's so much mana and, like, 0 cost things within this deck list. And I don't think I'm fully just, like, stone cold dead to 1 discard spell or anything. Because I have 2 pieces of interaction. It's awkward, though. But I think that's this deck. Losing Duress is fine. That's a Beseech. Not quite there yet. I'm gonna attempt to believe. Going away from the Storm aspect a little bit, I think I'm gonna put one of these in play. Just always, always, always need one. And I would hate to just, like, lose to a double Duress effect, taking both of them. That's fine. Not like I was going to surgical your Thoughtseize. That's not actively good for me. I lose my Beseech. And we're chilling. I'd like any mana source. That technically counts. If I cast this, I have Metalcraft. Do something slightly awkward here. So I float a mana, play a new Mox Opal, keep the untapped one at sorcery speed. I make this token, and now I can activate again next turn using Lotus Petal and Mox Opal. And I might end up doing something like grabbing LED to equip Shadow Spear and just discard my Surgical. We'll kind of see where this turn cycle goes. I'm not going to be making the biggest constructs in the world. That's for sure. Sure. Are you cantripping? Are we going off through my Surgical? It's very possible. It could just be like a Galvanic Relay past the turn line. That is a non-thresholded Cabal Ritual. So that happens. We got 7 total mana here. Burning Wish. My opponent passed priority and didn't crack their LED in response. Oh, I see. Echo of Eons. Sure. I have a Surgical Extraction that I can cast here. I can take out some, like, Lotus Petals or Lion's Eye Diamonds right now, so my opponent can't redraw those. Or I can just let it resolve. Storm count is already 7, so if my opponent kind of does anything involving a Tendrils, I'm going to die anyway. So I think I cast Surgical. The question is, like, do I attack a Brainstorm, or do I go for mana? Taking out artifacts to make Bargain Harder is, I guess, a thing. I think I'm going to take out Lotus Petal as an initial mana source, but I'm not really sure. I think stopping my opponent from getting to triple black is one of the things that makes it easier for me to make it to the next turn. And now we see what happens. I draw some more artifacts. See if I'm dead. Alright, my opponent is still going. This, unfortunately, is the triple black that I didn't want my opponent to have. Yeah, you can Thoughtseize me. I am F6'd at this stage. We are already at lethal Storm levels, even not counting my Surgical. That's fine. There's a land drop. That can represent red mana. So now what? Is this going to be like a Galvanic Relay past the turn situation? It is. Everything from Thoughtseize down will be castable. Those are some good cards. I imagine that I'm just dead. I'm not gonna math it out because my turn doesn't change. I make a new construct. I do some searching. Haywire Might is technically disruptive. Oh man, do I have to math? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, presuming threshold, 8. Storm 1, 2, 3. Beseech. Replay. Get Ritual Tendrils from Exile. I think this Mox Opal doesn't matter. Instead, I'm going to play Urza Saga, Chrome Mox, Imprint, Empty, Equip Shadow Spear, play Lotus Petal, and Duress. I take a redraw. So, Chrome Mox, Imprint, Empty, Saga, Petal, Equip, I get to deal 8 and go to 26. Send it. Bonus at 4. I have this teeniest bit of interaction, but the scary stuff's in exile here. Gaea's Will in hand, huh? That's more interesting. I'll take Song of Creation. Then I'll flip this trying to draw a surgical. And pass the turn. Is it surgical? It is not surgical. So I'm F6'd for my opponent's Galvanic Relay turn, which I think beats me from 26. Here we go. So Gaia's Will is imprinted. I don't know if my opponent has a second Gaia's Will. I mean, I think I have access to that information, but I'm not going to look it up. I surgicaled them previously, I believe. So there's the cracking of LED. Oh, actually, the cracking of LED could have put the Gaia's Will into graveyard. So my opponent doesn't have Metalcraft or Mox Opal anymore. We'll see if that mistake ends up mattering. They've got a billion mana, so probably not. Burning Wish. This is just going to be a peer into the abyss, which will presumably end up killing me. It's just a matter of how. You know, Storm count needs to bump up about 5 more, but, you know, with that many cards in hand, that in theory should not be an issue. Unless my opponent, you know, randomly thought seizes me and kills themselves. You know, they should be good here. Here very rarely fizzles. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. Okay, and they are going to go ahead and just cast the Tendrils. Storm count is 14. 14 times 2, 28. You know, that'll do. GG's. Okay, hand's definitely a keep. Let's figure out whether or not I'm a Storm deck or not this game. Urza Saga, Locket, Bauble Opal, turn 2 Vault of Whispers activate. I can't turn 1 Infernal Tutor. Yeah, I think we're not a Storm deck as plan A. I think Storm is plan B. Or if I get wastelanded off of Urza's Saga. It's weird because, like, committing these artifacts to the board to play around things like Chalice, Trinisphere, Thalia, and whatnot means that I lean away from the Storm side of the deck being good. Which is definitely some tension that I'm feeling. Oh. We are in an unfair pseudo mirror of some kind. Locket of yesterday's Infernal Tutors. Can't go Hellbent right now though, so like doesn't quite do anything, but it's pretty close to popping off. We might storm yet, folks. Okay, so it is Rhinos. Presumably. Oh fuck, I'm wrong. It's Show and Tell. Resolves. I have nothing to put in. And you've got an Emrakul. Well, you've just made it very clear to me that I need to storm off or otherwise produce a very large number of permanents. So I activate this. Or otherwise produce a very large number of permanents? I'm not aggroing through Emrakul anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn this into a card and see where this goes. Draw my card. Mox Opal. What if I get like an LED? What if I get an LED? Let's figure this out live. Because I think this is a it works or it doesn't situation. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 total mana. Does this just work with Beseech? Probably. So let's float mana, play a new Mox Opal, keep this Mox Opal, play a Bauble, make some mana. Yeah, it feels like this just works with Beseech. So cast Infernal Tutor, rack for black, go get Beseech, lose to Force of Will. Damn it. Okay, yeah, so talking through the rest of the line, I get Beseech, I sacrifice a Mox Opal to do that. I have 1 mana floating, and I easily like do crazy Locket of Yesterday's Infernal Tutor chains for the win. But I'm effectively dead to the Emrakul attack, not literally dead. So I can't be a weird control deck this time. That's just not gonna work. In some of these previous rounds, like where these cards interacted with my opponent, it was more reasonable, but that's not working here. So I'm going to play 4 Duress over some number of things in this deck and go from there. I just don't think I end up being faster than my opponent, unfortunately. Is Dark Petition the worst card again? I just have to like race my opponent who can go off as soon as turn 1 off Ancient Tomb Lotus Petal. And I just don't have time to set up enough instants and sorceries in my graveyard, I think. And Locket of Yesterday's works better with the Urza Saga. Alright. So if I keep this hand, I Thoughtseize, and then I have no plan. I have a lot of mana, so I could top deck like a Beseech or an Urza Saga or an Infernal Tutor and do good things, or I could just ship this one. I think I'm going to ship it. Ancient Tomb, why? I can keep this one Pitch Dark Ritual and any 0-cost artifact, 3 Swamps, or 4 Vault of Whispers turns on 3 copies of Thoughtseize, or I can go to 5. I think I am going to keep this one and try to obliterate my opponent's hand, accepting that some portion of the time this doesn't work. But I think this is going to be a tough matchup, so I think I just take the risk on it. Sure. Okay. We have whiffed. Urza Saga is not what I'm looking for this game. Like, it very frequently is going to be what I'm looking for. But all I want is black mana to start ripping off these Thoughtseizes into each other. And preferably, I draw the black source last turn so that I can like Thoughtseize into Thoughtseize in case the first one is countered or my opponent's hand is redundant or they brainstorm or whatever. Oof. I miss again. Now the question is, like, do I play these out? I think the answer is no. I think I hold everything in hand in case we do some sort of backdoor small storm line. And next turn, I guaranteed have an artifact off Urza Saga and can go from there, but it feels like I should just be dead. I haven't interacted with my opponent. All right, it is Sneak Attack. Resolves. I don't have a Pithing Needle. Let's see if there's a Spirit Guide. There is a Spirit Guide. Finding Atraxa. Atraxa gets to look at 10 cards and pick the best among them. Emrakul Lotus Petal ends me. I'm not going to make my opponent think about that. It's very easy. And we are dead. We put up 1 win this league. That is 1 match win. But we did take another game win. So that was bumpy. And we knew that was going to be the case from the start. What did we learn? From the beginning, we knew that Dark Petition was going to be a hard sell. The fact that this is just 5 mana to get going, and it also requires 2 instants and sorceries in your graveyard beyond that, is rough. I never did something like the Dream of Chain, DP, 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 DP into Beseech or Tendrils or whatever. Urza Saga continues to just, be a very impressive legacy card. When you have 21 0 cost artifacts in your deck, Urza Saga can just steal games, even if the rest of your deck isn't doing that much. But this is not a path that I would recommend anyone walk down in Legacy. The Ant players are not really playing Dark Petition anymore, and I think it's kind of foolhardy to be playing a Storm deck that doesn't just play 4 copies of Beseech. So I think this is a good illustration of, like, you can play anything in Legacy as long as what you are doing is powerful. And part of what this deck is doing is powerful. But, this is Rock Lee with the weights on. This is handicapping yourself by not playing the best things that your general strategy has to offer. I hope it was entertaining watching me kind of puzzle through these lines, but this was the best that I was capable of doing. I am no Storm expert. I played Ant for a decent amount of time, somewhat competitively. But as far as brewing a new Storm deck from scratch that involves, unplayed cards that aren't good enough for the bar of Legacy, I'm not capable of doing that. If you come up with something and you break these open, you deserve the clout. Let me know. And if you want some cards to mess around with this, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.